Hello everyone, how are you? This is Pom and welcome back to my channel Learn with Pom. Today I will discuss with you about permit to work system. As you know that permit to work system is very important to manage health and safety risk in different industries like construction, oil and gas and so on, and anywhere where we are doing work, high risk activities, there we require permit to work system. It is not like that you cannot use in some companies where you don't use any construction work or you are not doing any oil and gas work. You can't say that you will not use the permit to work. Permit to work system you can use everywhere wherever you have to control the hazard and risk. Okay, in this training, I will discuss where we have to use, how we have to use, what are the responsibilities, and what is the proper way of using the permit to work system, issuing the permit to work system, and how we can control the permit to work system. Okay, and who is responsible for all these things. So we'll go through one by one and we'll cover all these things. Before moving forward, I would like to request that please do not forget to subscribe my channel if you haven't, and please do share with your friends and colleagues as well, and please show your support. Thank you so much. So let's start our training permit to work system. So first of all, what is permit to work system? The permit to work system is a formal written procedure used to control access and activities of personnel in the construction. Sometimes in the NEBOSH, the examiner, they will ask you about what is a permit to work system. Then you can give this definition that permit to work system is a formal written procedure used to control access and activities of personnel in the construction. That is a permit to work system. It is ensure safety of personnel and to prevent damage to equipment. Also means of communication between site management, supervisors, operators who carry out the work. So it is a way of communication as well. Permit to work normally implemented in a work activities near or inside the operating facilities. There is a buried or near operational system or where the client thinks that PTW is deemed necessary. So there we can use permit to work system. How is permit to work controlled within the permit to work system? So how we can control the permit to work system within the system? Work is controlled by following various steps detailed in the permit to work procedure and by using special document called work permit. So work permit is a format. In that document, you have to mention in a very detailed way what you're going to do, how you're going to do, what are the hazards involved, what are the risks involved, how you're going to control it, how you're going to communicate it, what are the emergencies, scenarios. So all these things you will mention in the work permit. Work permits are not simple permission to carry out work. So it is not simple. So do not think that you can use only one page of work permit and that is sufficient. No, that is not. It should be very detailed, but they determine how the work can be carried out safely. So it will tell you that how to carry out the work safely without any injury or without any accident. There are different types of permit to work system and depend on the activities, it's depend on the industries and certain other things. First, we have the hot work permit. Whenever you are doing any hot work like welding, so there you have to use the hot work permit. Confined space entry permit. If people they're going to work inside the confined space like shallow, any pipeline or any under the gutter or any trench. So all these are confined space. Electrical permit, energized and de-energizing. If the people they are working in electrical wires or any electrical system, whether it is energizing or de-energizing one. Then we have the excavation permit. If you are doing any excavation work, then we have the excavation permit also that need to issue. If the people they are working with the radiography, that is a permit also is there. Crane, critical lift. If you are performing any lifting operation with the help of crane, then man basket operation and cold work permits. So these are the important work permit that we have to issue if the people they are going to work any one of these areas or any one of these equipments or material. So let's start with the hot work permit. Hot work permit classified as any type of work which involves actual or potential source of ignition which is done in an area where there may be a risk of fire or explosion or which involves the emission of toxic fumes from the application of heat. If you want to do any welding, let's say that you want to do the welding in LPG tank, so there are a high risk, high chances of explosion, fire and explosion. So you definitely need the work permit system to control the risk and the hazard in that particular area. After that, we have confined space entry. In normal is normally used to specify the precautions to be taken to eliminate the hazards of dangerous fumes, gases, liquids or solids or lack of oxygen, harmful residues, radiation or moving machinery from confined space or from any other sources before a person is permitted to enter a confined space. Let's say that the people they are in going inside here, and there may be different types of risk, asphyxiation, dangerous fumes, gases, liquids, so many things could be there. So before entering there are some pre-requirement that we need to comply, so that need to be understand by through the work permit also, and that work permit will assure that yes, all these things has been controlled, uh, pre-assessment has been done and control, and now you have to use the work permit. And when the people they're going inside, then you have to check them physically, you have to log them in any format. Okay, and emergency situation also need to be developed. Then we have the electrical permit, including energizing and de-energizing. Electrical permit is normally used to cover any work on electrical equipment and precautions to be taken to eliminate the risk of electrical shock. Okay, electrocutions to people carrying out the work or damage to property. Whenever any people they're going to work with any electricity, what are the requirements? Like, people they need to be trained. You need to check the competency. Maybe the PPE is required, and maybe the people they should be trained person, no unauthorized people. How are you going to barricade the area? What are the requirements related to safe working with the electrical system? All these things you have to identify in the work permit system, and how you're going to control this risk and hazard. That also you have to identify in the work permit system. And if there is any extra precautions that you need while carrying out these work with the electrical system, that also you have to identify it in the work permit system, and that need to be comply also. When you are issuing the permit to work system, you have to check the legal consideration also. Maybe there are some legal requirement also that need that, those need to be complied during the work permit system also. Okay, when you are issuing the work permit. Excavation permit. Excavation permits is required for any work to be carried out where existing lines or services may be buried or encountered. Any excavation deeper than 0.3 meter, that you need the work permit system. Excavation activities near existing structures, example electrical post, buildings, permanent equipments, etc. Excavation activities in area classified as safe area for excavation, a blanket permit may be requested for long duration of time. If you are working for the long duration of time, blanket permit that also need to be required. Radiography permit. If the people they're going to work with the radiography is normally used to cover industrial radiography, safe working practices and precautions to be taken to eliminate the risk associated with radioactive source. Okay. Before you are issuing any permit for the work with radiography permit, before issuing that one, you have to check the safe work procedure, method of work, risk assessment, PPEs, people competency, and so on. Not the radiography work. With all the work permit, you have to check all these things. Okay. Then you will be able to control the risk and hazard related to each work permit. Crane critical lifts permit. Permit is needed when lifting requires rigging study, load is 40 tons and above. It is one of the requirement, but you can set your internal requirements also, or you can choose the legal requirements also. Crane lifts is performed in high risk environment. Load is too big or wide to be lifted. Okay, lifting where two or more cranes are required. That there you need the work permit. Men basket operation. Prior to use of any men basket suspended from a crane for hoisting personnel, the highest level of project management must determine and be sure that conventional means is more hazardous or impossible due to structural design or work site conditions, approval must be signed. Before you are getting approval, before you start any work, man basket operation. You can see here there's a man basket operation here. Then you need to get the approval, and that approval should be signed also from the management. If is required prior to actual riding of personnel inside the basket to make sure that operator can safely position the man basket in the intended location. Now, those are all the permits and where we need and how we can use the permit to work, okay, in the different areas and different functions. Now, we will start the responsibilities. There are different people they will involve during the permit to work permit systems. Okay, starting from the permit issuing and closing the permit also work permit also. So there are different people will involve. Now, permit issuer responsibility. The person who's issuing the permit, who what are the responsibilities that he or she need to fulfill. First of all, in the case of operational plant, the company normally has its own permit system. The operation manager affected section of the plant designed representative shall issue the permit issuer. The issuer has the sole authority to issue the permit. Okay. The permit issuer, he or she is the only person who is responsible to issue the permit. The issuer shall be fully aware of site conditions, the type of work to be carried out, and all the requirements stated in the permit. The permit issuer should be fully aware of these requirements. The issuer shall conduct an on-site inspection before issuing any permit. Permit should not be issued in the office. Okay. Permit should be issued after the site inspection, on-site inspection, jointly together with the receiver to ensure that site conditions are safe to permit to work the work and all requirements stated in the permit are implemented prior to the issuance of the permit. So that we need to verify on the site first. Issuer shall withhold the issuance of the permit if the requirements are not met, the site conditions are not safe for the work to carry out. Okay. So issuer should not issue the work permit if he or she not satisfied with the requirements and the control measures. Issuer responsibility also, the issuer shall, if noticing the presence of any other potential hazard risk that may jeopardize the safety of the worker, tool, or equipment, advise the receiver of appropriate countermeasures to be taken. Okay. Control measures should be taken before issuing any permit, and permit issuer should inform these things to the permit receiver. The issuer shall ensure that all required safety monitoring measurements are properly done and so stated in the permit. The issuer shall ensure that all personnel involved in the work are fully aware of emergency procedures. Okay, the competency. The people, whoever is involved, they should be fully aware about the emergency procedure. Once informed, the work is completed, the issuer shall visit the site jointly with the receiver to ensure that the work is ceased and the site is kept clean and tidy without any smoldering exist. Once work is completed and permit done. Permit receiver responsibility. Those was the responsibilities of permit issuer. Now the responsibilities of permit receiver. Who is going to receive the permit? The permit receiver shall be fully aware of all requirements stated in the permit to work with them at all times. The receiver shall fully brief the work crew to ensure that requirements are clearly understood by the crew under its supervision. The receiver shall ensure the work is performed in accordance with the conditions specified in the work permit. Okay, what the way you have to conduct the work. Okay, and that the way you're going to conduct the work that you have mentioned in the work permit. Whatever you have mentioned in the work permit, in the same way you have to conduct the work. That should not be changed. Okay, your work permit and the way that you are doing the work, that should not be mismatched. So that is the requirement. Okay. The receiver shall ensure that under no circumstances shall be his own discretion or his crew change the original scope of work. So the scope of the work which is mentioned in the work permit, that should not be changed by the crew also, and not should be changed by the permit receiver, which is described in the permit. The receiver shall request a new permit in the event a change in a scope of the work becomes necessary. If you are changing the scope, then you have to get the new work permit. Why? Because when you are changing the scope, maybe hazard will change, method of work will be changed, or maybe new risk will be introduced. So that's why you need to get a new permit. Whenever site conditions are drastically changed, the receiver shall immediately stop the work and inform the issuer of the change for further instruction for him. Upon the occurrence of an emergency, the receiver shall immediately stop the work and shut down all equipment. The receiver shall report the completion of the work or the expiration of the validity of permit to work system to the issuer. The permit to the issuer and ensure that the site is kept clean and tidy without any smoldering ignition sources. Okay. If permit work in progress requires extending the validity stated in the permit, the receiver shall suspend the work and request an issuance of new permit. If you have to carry out the work for next day also, or for you have to extend the work, before extending the work, you have to get the new permit from the permit issuer. Now, HSE permit coordinator responsibility. Those were the responsibility for the permit issuer and permit receiver. Now the HSE responsibility. The HSE permit coordinator designated by area construction manager is responsible for daily coordination of the work permit. He is responsible for full clerical control of the system, including retention of the closed out work permits for 1 month period. This time period you can decide internally. He has the full overview of the plan and open and suspended work permits on visually display in his permit to work office. Operational procedure for the work permit system. There are some operational procedure requirements that we need to fulfill also. A work permit consists of a set of 3 pages. Okay, 3 pages. Somewhere it could be 4, it could be 2. It's depend on your work activities and the type of permit you are issuing. The white page shall be kept by the receiver and kept at the work location. Okay, so there will be 3 pages also. Okay, that will be distributed to the different people. The white page shall be kept by the receiver and kept at the work location. The white page is for the receiver. Yellow page shall be kept by the issuer and green page shall be kept by the HSE permit coordinator. Green page for the HSE team, white page for the receiver, okay, and yellow page shall be kept by the issuer also. The description of the work shall be a precise statement of the planned activity, the location of the work by identification of the area or equipment to be worked upon. Broad scope of work of a general nature are not acceptable. Okay, what you are doing specifically, only that thing you have to mention in the work permit. You don't have to write the summary, okay, whole report. That is not required in the work permit. That you can mention in the method of work statement. Method statement, risk assessment, or job safety analysis will be produced or for critical activities and shall be attached to and from part of the permit. Such additional documentation shall be attached to the original of the permit. When additional permits or certificates are required, they will be attached to and from part of permit to work. Okay. The receiver shall produce a permit to contractor responsibilities personal for the work requested in the permit to review and verification by 13 hours. This is the internal requirement. You can change. As soon as the review and verification has been made, the receiver shall bring the verified permit to the HSE permit coordinator. The HSE permit coordinator shall scrutinize the permit, including safety precautions and requirements stated in the permit, and deliver it to the receiver. The HSE permit coordinator should consult HSE personnel for professional advice or suggestions required to work safely. So these are the requirements, and the receiver shall bring the permit to the issuer, who shall review the permit, ensure require the safety precautions necessary in authorized permit. Okay. So issuance of the permit to receiver in the office shall not take place. So these are the requirements. These are the operation related requirement that we can fulfill. Okay, and it is different from company to company, location to location. It's totally depend on your internal work permit system, how you are controlling. But you have to make sure that you have the proper control on the work permit system and you are properly controlling the hazards and risks involved with the work permit system and the different work activities. Now, the revalidation of the permit. What is this? When the work calls for any extension of the permit, the receiver shall suspend the work and request an extension of the validity to the issuer. That's called the revalidation of the permit. You are revalidating your existing permit. Okay? The issuer is responsible for reensuring that all precautions and requirements are still in place and the condition in the work site are maintained safe for personal equipment. When you are revalidating your work permit, who is responsible? The issuer again is responsible. Okay, so all the responsibility which is we mentioned while you issuing the work permit, same responsibility issuer need to fulfill. Then, if the issuer agrees to extend the permit, he shall define the time and the expiry and the sign in the permit to authorize extension. Then we have the emergency situations. To deal with the emergency situation during the work activities, that should be there for the work permits also. When an emergency such as a fire incident, toxic gas release, natural climates has taken place, the receiver shall immediately stop all works and shut down all equipment. It is a requirement. All permits shall be nullified and no work shall be resumed unless new permits have been issued out by the issuer. Once you stop the work during any emergency and again you want to resume the work, before issuing the new work permit, you should not resume your work, and your any contractor, they should not resume the work. That you have to mention also in the work permit. The issuance of the new permit, the issuer shall visit the work site to ensure that there is no imminent hazard risk present and that the work site is safe for work. Now, the work permit flowchart. It is very, very important. That will tell you that who should do what. Okay. So, the responsible supervisor to originate permit, permit receiver review verify permit, HSC permit coordinator accept permit, and issuer authorize permit. After that, carry out work, authorized permit, carry out work finished. If it is just close permit, file permit. If the work not finished, then revalidate permit. Then again you have to come this way and you have to go in this way. But the permit need to be revalidate if the work not finished. Summary. The permit to work is designed to provide a safe system of work that can be applied to works identified by virtue of perceived risk. Okay. It shall be applied to the contractor control construction activities on the project or other areas and other people also. Permit requirements for activities other than those mentioned in this procedure will be re-evaluated, especially for the potentially hazardous activities when an extra degree of work control is felt to be appropriate. So that's all for this training permit to work system. Now, in this training, I didn't tell you that how to create a permit to work system format and permit to work register also should be there. So in my next video or in the future, I will try to provide you the work permit format and the work permit register. Okay. So that will tell you that will give you the more information regarding the work permit also. And the information which I give you here, it is also very crucial and sufficient information that you can use for the work permit system, and you can control the risk and hazards involved with the different work activities. I hope you like this video and the information which I shared with you. And please do not forget to subscribe my channel and like my videos. And please show your support. See you in the next video.